oh, I'd listen if they called me and if it was bad. I call the FBI, the soundbite that sent the media mob into an absolute predictable hysteria. We told you what happened last night. He is now the author of the #1 bestseller in the country in the New York Times bestseller list. It's a fantastic read, Unfreedom of the Press. We call him the Great One. #1 show on cable Sunday nights, Life, Liberty, and Levin on the Fox News Channel. Nationally syndicated radio host. He won't admit it, but a friend of mine. Great One. You know, I watched this, and I'm thinking of your book and the great history, all that you laid out in this book. Nobody's ever done this before, which I think makes all your books unique. And I look at what he said, and I compare what Hillary did. I actually think the president set him up.
Well, first of all, have you ever seen a dumber media in your life? I mean,
no.
Truly a dumber media. Let's think about this.
No.
How would the president even know to turn something over to the FBI unless he accepted it and read it? Accepted it and listened to it. And that's basically what he said. Yes, I would take it. It's about take a look at it. If it should go to the FBI, it should go to the FBI. But look how upset they are. You've made the point. Let me underscore it. Hillary Clinton, the DNC, paid for information. They paid for Russian information. It didn't come to them. They had to manufacture it. They paid for it. And then, of course, contact the FBI. Would that be the FBI that sent spies into the Trump campaign and was leaking to the media? You know, a little bit of history does help. I seem to remember, Sean, in the 1990s, the Red Chinese military poured millions of dollars into Bill Clinton's reelection. Remember that? The Riyadi Group and Johnny Chong and the rest? They were bringing bags of money, serial numbers, into the DNC. Does anybody remember the media getting all worked up, other than really the LA Times? I don't remember Nancy Pelosi getting worked up. Do you know they didn't even appoint a special counsel to investigate that? Now, that's real interference. And we American people, we're such plebes, we're so stupid. We're really supposed to believe that China wants Trump to win. So they're going to give Trump information on Bernie Sanders? They would love Bernie Sanders. He's a kindred spirit. Or that the Russians are really happy with the way Trump is treating them, so they're going to give him information to defeat Kamala Harris, or the Iranians, or the North Koreans? How stupid is that? The rest of America watches this, and we laugh at the media. Or how about the great lion of the Senate, Ted Kennedy, who used surrogates to contact the KGB to try and defeat Ronald Reagan in his re-election in 1984, and Nancy Pelosi. Who can forget Nancy Pelosi in 2007, undermining the Bush administration, George W. Bush, running off to meet with the genocidal dictator, the father of the current genocidal dictator in Syria, undermining our national security? Who can remember the Democrat speaker before that, Jim Wright, running off to Nicaragua to meet Ortega, another genocidal communist? I mean, the Democrat, it's a joke. Now, I want to address one other thing, too. You talked about Bernie Sanders. We have two plagiarists in the race on the Democrat side. Joe Biden, who's a well-known plagiarist, because he's too dumb to even say things on his own. But then there's Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has stolen his agenda from Joseph Stalin, from the Soviet Union in 1936. I want to educate CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, and all the rest of them.
Mark, wait a second. That's a task impossible, but for the benefit of our audience, I'll let you do it for that.
Okay. Chapter 10, 1936 Constitution. This is the Soviet Union. It sounds really great. Article 118, citizens of the USSR have the right to work. That is, and I'm quoting, are guaranteed the right to employment and payment for the work in accordance with its quantity and quality. Article 119, citizens of the USSR have the right to rest and leisure, the institution of annual vacations with full pay for workers and employees, and the provision of a wide network of sanatoria, rest homes, and clubs for the accommodation of the working people. Article 120, bear with me, citizens of the USSR have the right to maintenance in old age, and also in case of sickness or loss of capacity to work. This right is ensured by the extensive development of social insurance of workers and employees at state expense, free medical service for the working people, and the provision of a wide network of health resorts for the use of the working people. One more. Article 121 of Stalin's Soviet Constitution, 1936. This right is ensured by universal, compulsory elementary education, by education, including higher education, being free of charge, by the system of state stipends for the overwhelming majority of students in the universities and colleges, and it goes on, a Meritopia. So, Bernie, why don't you come forward and tell everybody, you're stealing from Stalin in 1936. You're stealing, oh, I know, I'm not allowed to say this. I know, I'm not allowed to say this. But for the Praetorian Guard media that protects the left, that protects big government, big centralized government, the American people can't stand you. And I'm going to tell you why. You are destroying freedom of the press. You make a mockery of yourselves. Every time Donald Trump says something, you say it's the end of the world. We've never seen anything like it. We're smarter than you. You operate in a bubble in Washington. You operate in a bubble in New York. You have no comprehension of what's going on in the country. That's how you missed 2016. You pushed this lie for 2.5 years of Russian collusion. You ignored Hillary Clinton and the DNC. The American people are on to you. Even today, the Iranians are taking out oil tankers, not ours, but others. The Iranians are looking for war. And what do we hear from the code pink left in the media? That it's John Bolton's fault. That it's the Secretary of State's fault. That it's the President of the United States' fault. You're pathetic. It's a joke.